Guys, I want to protect your future cash flow, and the way we're going to do that is to put the best practice in place ahead of time, which is automatic rent increases when a tenant's lease is renewing. This is so important that so few people actually do this. You'd think everybody does this, but very few people do. And let me kind of give you an idea of what's happening. I'm traveling around the country speaking a lot of groups and seminars lately, and I'm hearing a lot of concern about taxes going up and how cash flow numbers are going down. This should only be a problem if you're not increasing rents. Now here comes the problem. Everybody knows they need to increase rents, but they're doing it, they're not being proactive ahead of time, they're being reactive later, and then emotion gets in the situation, and because most people are good-hearted individuals, they have a hard time going back to their tenant to ask for a rent increase and ask them to pay an extra $50 to $100 more because they're scared and operating out of fear that they're gonna lose that tenant. Now here's how this looks, guys, with the actual numbers, because if you've never been a landlord and you're just starting to buy rentals, go ahead and get this best practice into place, because this is not gonna affect you renting it on the front end. If they like the house on the front end, guys, this is one of the concerns that people have, which is why they don't do this, is they're scared that if the tenant thinks that you're gonna increase rents over time continuously, they're gonna not rent your property and go to someone else. But it's a much bigger headache on the back end, guys, and you're hurting your own business by not doing it and doing this ahead of time. So, let's say this is you and this is the tenant house. You want to increase the rent $25 to $100, sometimes more, right? What's going to happen is you're going to get to that moment when the lease is coming to the end, and you know you need to do this because your cash flow is dropping, but you're not going to do it because of fear that that tenant's going to leave. They're either barely making their payments now and you're scared it's going to push them out of the property, or you're scared that you're going to run a really good tenant away because you're going to go back to them and say, hey, John, you've been great here, but actually have to increase rents by $50, and you're scared that they're going to say, well, if you do, I'm actually going to have to leave. I was thinking about leaving anyways, and if you do this, this is going to be the thing that pushes me over the edge, and I'm actually going to leave. Now, how do we avoid this? You're looking at a $50 increase, right? That's going to increase your cash flow $600. You know you need to do this, but what your fear is actually this. You may have a PITI, principal, interest, taxes, and insurance, to cover that cost to own that property, your debt service or your liabilities, and it may be $1,200 a month. And also, if you know that they're gonna leave, you may have some extra repairs that you have to do to the property that you're gonna have to go in and do, which could, let's just say, be $1,000. So your risk, opportunity cost of having them leave in your mind is much, much riskier, say $2,200, versus an automatic cash flow loss of $600 by not going forward and asking them to increase the rents. So you're thinking this is less risky than this because it's much, much smaller. But think about this, guys. If you have 10 rent houses and you don't up the rent $50 at the end of those leases, that's 600 by 10 is $6,000 a year. That's a lot of cash flow. That's enough to get actually into another rental house, depending on which market, or spend enough on marketing to buy a few more houses. And if you're spending $3,000 to acquire a deal that you can contract and monetize to flip for $40,000 a piece, that could be 2 flip houses of marketing money that you're throwing away, which could be $80,000 of income into your business. So you gotta start thinking how money compounds out in your business. Now, in order to avoid this situation where that you're scared to go back and bring this up to this individual, the best way to do it is to follow best common practices, which is put an automatic lease renewal rent increase into your lease. Very, very simple. It is not going to affect you getting the property leased on the front end. And guys, if it is, it's because your property is not in a good enough condition anyways compared to your competition. This should not affect you getting the property leased. Now, it's gonna save you a lot of headache, a lot of frustration, and you're not gonna have these weird situations where you're going back to your tenant later like just about every new landlord does eventually, because they're scared on the front end and they're even more scared on the back end, guys, to ask them for a rent increase because they don't wanna run their tenant out and face this, because this could actually be quite a bit more if there's more repairs and you can't get the property leased again. Best practice, automatic rent increases into the lease agreement ahead of time. Everybody's on the up and up. Everybody knows to set expectations, and it's gonna be a lot easier, a lot less stress, and a lot more money, and a lot more cash flow in your business, guys. I hope you liked today's video. If you haven't subscribed, hit that button down there at the bottom left, and I'll see you on the next one. Have a good day.